All right, thank you, Bill. I have the honor of introducing Tom Harding. Tom Harding began his career with General Electric as a design engineer in 1973. He was promoted over the years and became engineering manager of lamp and optics for GE Projection. He joined Venture Lighting International in 1987. He held various positions before becoming VP of Engineering for over 20 years until his retirement in 2013. Tom managed the introduction of Venture's patented uniform pole start metal halide product line, the largest pole start offering of any HID company. He also managed the launch of white Lux lamps. Those were metal halide lamps that retrofitted to an HPS ballast. One of his big achievements at Venture was the integration of the lamp and ballast engineering departments into one lighting systems group. He also did plenty of work, and that's where I got to know him, with the ANSI and NEMA committees. 1990 to 2013, he was on the ANSI C78, the HID lamp committee, as well as the C82, the HID ballast committee. 1993 to 2013, he was on the NEMA Lighting Systems Division. Many in the industry know of Tom's contributions to HID technology, industry standards, and legislation, not to mention his love for a good coffee, right? He spent his entire 40-year career in lighting, and his network in the industry stretched broadly across many large and small organizations. Tom was someone you could always call to get the latest information on a new product, the status of a particular standard, or the industry pulse on a given issue. His work with ANSI and NEMA is well recognized, and these organizations benefited greatly from Tom's work. In addition, for decades he served as a generous educator to many. Tom truly shared his knowledge of lighting and knew the history of the industry and the technology better than most. He patiently mentored many an HID engineer as they began their career under Tom's tutelage. Those who had the pleasure of working with Tom benefited from his vast experience and industry knowledge. Please welcome Tom Harding.
Thank you very much, and I am honored to get this award tonight. I did spend a whole career, 40 years, on one lamp type. I never got it right. But I had been 11 years in college, teaching physics the last 5 years, and I wanted a different challenge. And little did I know when I applied to GE, they would put me in this newly formed, fledgling metal halide engineering group. And believe it or not, in those days, they had 3 lamps, all Pro Start. And we thought that were great. My job was to get them all, make more of them and improve them. And I asked a couple of dumb questions in my early days. I didn't know any better. One was, they said, can you detect the amount of moisture that would be in a metal halide arc tube, the light source? So I got to work on a project, and I went around asking, does anybody have any good wet arc tubes? And I didn't know this. I've been in universities for a long time. And my boss grabbed me and said, Tom, you never say good wet arc tube. There are no good wet arc tubes. So somehow I managed to struggle through that. But it was the early days. We didn't know. Sometimes we would start a light metal halide lamp up and we'd close the door to the lab and run outside because we weren't sure what it was going to do. We just didn't know, and it was funny teaching engineers later, and there's one of them over there in the corner, Josh Berry. We didn't realize all in that 40 years how many things we put together that became industry kinds of things. Everybody said, well, of course you measure this. Well, when I was involved in it, nothing was, of course. We just didn't know. We had to try everything out, and believe me, when you try everything out, you have a lot of failures. And we did. And one of the other questions I asked all around was, how come there was no igniter starting metal halide? High pressure sodium did that, and it worked pretty well. And I didn't know the answer to it, so when I was at GE still, I developed a pulse starting metal halide lamp. with an igniter in the base. Back in those days, it wasn't all that good, but it was a pulse start lamp finally. And then at Venture, we were able to do a whole product line from essentially 50 watts up to 1,000 watts or so of pulse starting metal halide lamps because they just made more sense. Well, given the fact that I'd grown up all the way from beginning with that, it was fun to do. And then we did other things. I traveled a lot to Europe. Keith Price was our head of Europe over there, and traveled with him and his people trying to figure out what they needed in Europe. I went to the Far East. I traveled a lot trying to figure out how to expand the metal halide product lines. What would people need? And so I spent a career, I told them I spent 40 years there, and I'm sure you all know what a life cycle curve is, where you start at the very bottom, and you come up with a very innovative, creative part, and then you flatten out, hopefully you make some money then. And then you start down the downside of the life cycle curve, which is where metal halide is now. So my 40-year ride just about did an entire life cycle curve. It is nice. There's still metal halide out there. I've actually tried to talk people into doing some LED stuff. In retirement, I teach skiing a bit, and I play a lot of tennis, all of which are under metal halide lighting. So I haven't gotten away from it yet, but I told the guy at the tennis club the other day that we ought to look at an LED fixture for those tennis courts lights. These metal halide ones, you know, every time you shut them off, it takes 20 minutes to come back on. LEDs can be shut off and on. So any of you who are going to be good in sports lighting, I got contacts at least in the Cleveland area. But it was a great career. I got in when it was new. I got out when it was mature. Actually, I met Randy because one of the final things was electronic ballast, that and ceramic metal halide. But Randy and I got acquainted through electronic ballast. And I think everybody took all their technology for electronic ballast and turned it into LED drivers. That's about probably what happened. But anyway, thank you very much for the award. I should introduce my wife of almost 48 years is over there in the corner, Carol. But thank you. It's nice to see some of you I've known for years, because I haven't seen anybody in lighting for 3 or 4 years. So it's very nice, and so thank you very much. Appreciate it.